I'm Todd Hicks.
And I'm Joe Rimmelspach.
On behalf of the Department of Plant Pathology and beautiful Westbrook Country Club, welcome to this week's Turf Tips. We're up here putting a study out on one of the greens at Eric Howard's course in the Mansfield area, Westbrook Country Club. And we thought, why not do a turf tip with this beautiful surroundings instead of sitting in a boring old building, the conference center at OTF. So we're not getting wet. The rain's finally stopped, at least for a moment, and people were able to get out and enjoy golf, make those applications, and catch up with some of the things they're doing. What I'm hearing golf course-wise, disease-wise, is dollar spot. It's all over the state. It's not super powerful threat, but it is a threat, and it will build as the month goes along with the weather pattern we're in. So make sure you're protected and stuff. If it does become a super bad threat, remember, you got to shorten those intervals. 21 days, there are a lot of good 21-day products out there. I just don't trust anything 21 days when I get super hammered with dollar spot, especially. Leaf spot, if you're in these alleys that keep getting 2, 3, 4 inches of rain, leaf spot will bite you bad if you're not protected. So remember to put down a good product in there somewhere to make sure you're protected for that. The other two things we're hearing about, Watia and Fairy Ring. The nice thing about those two problems is most of the time you can have one product and it works for both of them. The problem comes in where that product needs to go. For Fairy Ring, it needs to be watered in. Okay, so if you put the product down and you misdiagnose, you may not get your Watia patch. Bottom line is, know what you're looking at before you treat. As always, make sure you do proper diagnostics so you get the product where it needs to go. That's about all I'm hearing on the golf side of things. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, from golf side, I haven't heard very much either. Sample's been fairly light. The one thing I would like to kind of advise people on, if you're running wet, is your mowing height. Oftentimes with wetter conditions, you may have a slightly lower height of cut because of soft greens. When it's cool and moist, that's not a big deal, but if we start moving into more heat and it stays hot, you have a lot of poania, anthracnose could really flare up. So you have to be aware of that. And like Todd said, just make sure you're really getting good diagnostics on whatever you're looking at if you have questions. The high cut side, of course, we're still seeing a lot of leaf spot. Red thread, of course, is rampant everywhere. It's widespread. It's on all. I've seen it on every cool season grass you can imagine, and so it's very widespread. Not a big deal, not a killer, very cosmetic. Historically, oftentimes, dollar spot will come into those lawns badly after that. Exactly why, I'm not sure, but it does. The only word of caution I'd say on those is watch your fertility. With all this excessive rain, many people maybe have lightened up on their fertility rates, or you've lost it because of whatever, bleaching, excessive clippings removed, or whatever. So make sure you have good fertility. Also, as we've said many, many times, make sure you're not low in phosphorus. That's a key component. If you're low in phosphorus, you have weaker grass, we know you're going to have much more severe conditions on red thread. Also on lawns, we're having continued problems with these wet conditions with a lot of algae, moss, weeds, and so you're going to have to address those, and Dr. Gardner can give you information, especially on the weed issue if you have questions there. One other thing on home lawns, it's not a huge widespread problem, but I'm continue to get calls about sites where they had real frustration on getting seedings to take. So they maybe have seeded last summer, again last fall, early fall, late, this spring, continued failure of these seedings. Many times they germinate, come up, they fail. I don't have any clear one answer on why this is happening other than we've had very wet conditions. In some cases we've had disease problems. Make sure you check your soil. In a few cases they were very low in either phosphorus or potassium, so check those out. And a lot of times it's just lousy, compacted clay soils. And as Todd oftentimes recommends is if you can incorporate a layer, you put down a top dress with some compost of some kind, incorporate that, you can improve the soil texture, fertility, and you have much better success. So if you have any suggestions on how to address these, we are open to suggestions. One other thing I want to just mention here at the end is on samples. If there's any confusion out there, all turf samples that you send at Ohio State come to Cotman Hall. Attention to me. The clinic for trees and shrubs is out in Reynoldsburg. They have a different address, but for the fastest work on turf samples, continue to send them to Cotman Hall. And that's on our website if you need the address.
If you're finding moss or algae, my recommendations, Quicksilver or Terracite, wonderful products. I don't know the economics as far as saving money, but I know those products work. Quicksilver's takes a little longer to work, safe product. Terracite, much quicker active ingredient, works much quicker, but you must be careful with that product. You can get yourself into trouble if you misuse it. I guess that's all we have as far as turf tips. We do have one big announcement for everybody. If you don't follow us on Twitter or Facebook, yesterday we announced we're having our disease day the 27th of June. It'll start at 8 o'clock for donuts and coffee. Get you guys in, do a little fellowship, talk to each other, have something to drink and eat, and we'll start the festivities at 9 o'clock. We did this 2 years ago. We'll do a disease walk, diagnostics, grass ID. We'll go out and look at our plots, talk about what's new, what's working, and what we're seeing, and finish up with just an overall talk about diagnostics, what we're seeing, some of the weird stuff we're seeing, and we'll get you back to work by noon. So come see us on the 27th. If you plan on coming, if you could do us a favor, email me at hicks, hicks.19@osu.edu, and tell me how many people you're bringing, just so we have a basic number of how many people to expect, whether it's 5 or 500. We kind of need to know that for donuts. We don't want to leave anybody out of a donut, do we, Joe?
No.
Hey, that's it for this week. Have a wonderful rest of your week and a weekend. We'll talk to you soon.